So knowing oneself is becoming aware of what we truly are, not just as an intellectual understanding, but as a reality we experience. Once we reach such a consciousness, we can then figure out the purpose of our existence, which is to serve the microcosm. So that was what Jose wrote. I think there he's talking of the personality serving the microcosm, which is the opposite of what most people do, where they put the personality first. Jacek, would you like to comment on that, chat?
Where they put the personality first, unknowingly serving the ego. Yeah? And serving the ego, therefore being servants or slaves of the higher self. And the monad has not yet come into play, because we talked of that four square of the personality, the ego, the higher self, and the monad. Now the monad is the force, the fire energy of the microcosm. But if the microcosm is as asleep, is not manifesting itself, then the monad is also not manifesting itself. But when we devote ourselves to that alchemical inner process of allowing the force of the rose of the heart to radiate through our being, it will touch also through our what we call the respiration field, which is where the higher self also through our all the 12 signs of the zodiac and so on, pierces through that and touches the first layers, so to speak, the inside layers of the microcosm. The microcosm is then brought to life. And as it is brought to life, the monadic force also begins to take shape, also begins to manifest itself until such a time that it will then pierce and work through the head sanctuary. And that's why we talk of the golden flower above the head. And we see that in so many religions with the Buddha, with all the other beings, because it is the golden flower, the force, which is then linking itself to the monadic energy, which then comes through the pineal gland, so not abstract, but real, and then flows through the whole system. So Jose beautifully put, knowing oneself is becoming aware of what we truly are, not just as an intellectual understanding, but as a reality we experience. So we experience a reality. And the problem is that after a moment in time, we start talking of the experience and we forget the reality. So we shouldn't talk about experiences. We should live from the reality. And that reality is in continual movement, in continual change. And as you say, once we reach such consciousness, I don't think then we figure out the purpose of our existence, which is to serve the microcosm. That is already somewhere else. That's happened before. Huh? We've already had that understanding and so on. But when we reach such consciousness, which means that those three levels of consciousness are becoming purified. And as they're becoming purified, then we come into the direct communion with, that's, I think it's in the Bible, elsewhere it's been completely detracted in its sense by religions and so on, but we come into union with, or communion with, we're communicating with the higher energy, which is the monadic force. And that monadic force, which is then the energy and the force of the macrocosmic Christ force, that then comes in through a community, comes in through each one of its individual members as more and more aware of that, then what happens? the higher self has to kneel to the Christ force. Lucifer, the carrier of the light, has to kneel to his brother. So the fallen angel has to accept the brother, which is the Christ force. And that means that the higher self is totally absorbed in, is annihilated, returns back to the Father. Whew. Okay, I've put in a few other elements there.